I don't know why I like it. I just always have.
This is a conscious effort on our part to open the creative envelope, so to speak, in order to entertain you in a more contemporary manner. Even though we call ourselves sports entertainment because of the athleticism involved, the key word in that phrase is entertainment.
Vince McMahon has lost his mind. The man doesn't have it anymore.
We in the WWF think that you, the audience, are quite frankly tired of having your intelligence insulted.
Have you watched the television show lately?
We also think that you're tired of the same old simplistic theory of good guys versus bad guys. Therefore, we've embarked upon a far more innovative and contemporary creative campaign that is far more invigorating and extemporaneous than ever before.
Because while Doink the Clown had a green hair and a rubber nose, Stone Cold Steve Austin was drinking his first beer in ECW, damn you. Oh, we got attitude. You got nothing, man.
As the times have changed, so have we.
Welcome back to Beyond the Beermat, the podcast that would love to think that we're above making the comparison with being on lockdown with the terrible TNA pay-per-view lockdown. But, you know, we're all at home, we've had some beers, we've been here for a while. Creativity is at its lowest. And we're going there, we are doing it. We are probably actually in better spirits and better match quality than TNA lockdown. But still, we'll see how this one goes. My name is Stuart Quigley. I have with me, via the magic of technology, Bill. We are fully ready on lockdown to give you the lowdown on what we're going to be talking about this week.
Well, just like The Rock. I'm here via satellite.
You love it so much, you're never going away, but you're here via satellite.
Exactly, man. Exactly. Living the dream.
Well, speaking of which, talking about a dream, the dream was WrestleMania is now 6 days away because they've switched around the logistics of it. And we've waited a little bit of time to record this podcast to get on this subject and topic. Now that everything's sort of settled down and we've come to this understanding of WrestleMania is definitely going to go ahead for one. It's definitely going ahead in an empty stadium / arena / NXT Performance Center. Now that we've actually understood it, the question I want to ask first and foremost is, knowing what we know now, how do you feel a week in advance of like knowing everything?
Well, it's not a spectacle anymore, is it? Because we've just had, is it 2 Raws? 2 Raws and 2 SmackDowns with no crowd in attendance. And it's just going to be another show. It's not the showcase of the Immortals this year. I don't know. It's a weird atmosphere. I just think it's going to be another show and get lost in the shuffle. Do I think they should have delayed it? No. I think they should have gone ahead as they're doing. I think that's the right thing to do to keep the schedule and whatnot. But it's just a bit, what's the word? Meh. Ironically, I think this is the best card they've had in years.
Well, that's one of the other questions that I was going to ask, actually, in terms of, I've got the matches in front of me. If this whole situation wasn't going on, if this is all taking place on the Sunday, you feel like this is a WrestleMania that would have been more memorable for the wrestling reasons rather than it's going to be memorable, whether we like the idea of it being in the arena, whether we like the idea of it going ahead, whatever's going on, it's going to be memorable. But you think based on this card, it would have been a good event anyway?
I still think it's going to be a good event, and I'm actually grateful to split it across 2 days because the endurance test of sitting there for 9 hours watching wrestling, it's become a chore more than an enjoyment.
Do you think in that instance, the fact they're splitting it over 2 days, if nothing else, people will be able to appreciate what is on offer more, even though, given the circumstances, they're handcuffed for reactions?
Yeah, I do. I think their hand has been dealt for them this year. I think they were heading to a 2-day event anyway. New Japan. I think they were going to go down that route at some point. Was it WrestleMania 30? How long was that? 4 hours? And now we're moving towards a 7-hour show plus 2-hour pre-show. It's becoming silly, really, isn't it? And I think the best thing to do is to split it over 2 days. What's happening in the world has forced them to go down that route. But match-wise, I've seen a couple of opinions on the internet. Some people like the idea of splitting it over 2 days. So each match has got time, like an NXT TakeOver show. Yeah. There's generally 4 or 5 matches on the card. So each match is going to get time to tell a story, so to speak.
Well, you said an interesting thing there. So you said tell a story and they're going to have time to do that. One of the things that I feel like has happened, certainly in the initial reaction to this whole situation and the fact that we can no longer have crowds there, was almost the way that every business and the general public reacted, in the sense of we don't know how long this is going to go on. We don't know what it entails, and we don't really know what we're meant to do. Vince made the decision that we're going to carry on.
Let's not forget at that point as well, they've said to any wrestler that doesn't feel comfortable performing that they don't have to perform. He's not put a gun to the head and forced anyone to wrestle at WrestleMania this year.
Yes, and we're going to get to the implications of one of those things later on in the podcast, and there will be slight spoilers in terms of certain changes in the matches, but I'll just get that in now. But what I'm saying is that I think they committed to, at least initially, we'll get to WrestleMania. We get to WrestleMania and then we reevaluate because we have more information. And now I think the information is that this is kind of going to be here for a while. So while the shows have been very much paint by numbers and very uncreative and very sort of different, but not in a good way, especially once you've seen it. Like, that first time was a fascinating concept. Second time, less so.
Unique.
And as the shows have gone on, it's become less and less interesting. But in terms of what you said, they've got time to tell a story at WrestleMania. I think that we might be in for something different in terms of they've got the facility to tell something different, and this idea of, like, it's got to be bigger and it's got to be better than your shows that they've been putting out, because that's what we expect from WrestleMania anyway.
Yeah, I don't go to watch Die Hard 4 or Die Hard whatever we're on now, 5 at the cinema and expect a live audience reaction. I go to watch the film. I'm watching the wrestling. I don't. WrestleMania's unique, and the atmosphere in the arena for the first 10 minutes does say something, but after that, I'm not watching the crowd reaction unless it's a massive match. But I'm not there for the crowd reaction. I'm there for the match. So it doesn't make a major difference to me. It's unprecedented, the situation, isn't it? And they've recorded through to April 10th, haven't they? Which is when the official "you can't move in Florida" ban is up. Whether that gets extended or not, I don't know.
Well, the thing is to use the movie analogy, you don't go to see a film, and if you're sitting there watching something that's particularly shit, but the crowd are really into it, it makes you like it more. But for the most part, you're right. And I will come back to that actually in a second. But the next thing I was going to ask you is, and you said about this card, I find it interesting to imagine the scenario where everything was as we expected it to be at the start of the year. WrestleMania is going ahead as normal. Even a few weeks ago, this would have been the case. In front of a crowd. So we know we're getting something different, completely unique situation. But if this wasn't the case, like, what differences are there going to be because of that? Are there going to be any match results that might be changed because of this? Do you think that because the fact they're behind closed doors, are they more likely to take risks with the booking, or are they less likely?
I don't think it's going to change any plans. There's a couple of matches, aren't there, that they can take days to run. The Bray Wyatt and John Cena match and the Undertaker AJ Styles. I think they're planned from the off, though, so I don't think that's going to affect anything. But the one match that I do think they're going to change is the Goldberg-Roman Reigns match. Roman Reigns is obviously pulled out for health reasons. Yes. And Mr. Strowman has stepped up. I think Roman Reigns would have beaten Goldberg and sent Goldberg off into the sunset, but I can't see Braun Strowman going over Goldberg.
I think there's an argument to be made there. I'm not saying I'm the one that would make it, but the opportunity that this scenario presents you.
I don't get me wrong. I think Strowman looks the part. He's trimmed down in the past 12 months, hasn't he? And he looks in better physical shape. I just don't think Vince trusts him for whatever reason. I'm not sure what happened, but at the end of the day, a man's health has got to take priority over. I was going to say fake wrestling show. A man's health has got to take priority over his job, really.
He's made enough money at the end of the day. He doesn't need to risk his own health.
I bet he could retire. I'm not sure what lucrative contract he's on, but he's on more than me. And I live happily off £4 a week. So.
Well, yeah, these days. On that replacement, do you not think there was potential room for there to do anything a bit more interesting? Or was it just too late in the day and they thought they had to do it?
I think it was too late in the day. They were determined to get the show recorded on Wednesday and Thursday, weren't they? Mm-hmm. So if Roman Reigns has decided he's not going to take the job last Thursday, it doesn't really give them much time, does it? I can't name another person on SmackDown that would take his place. John Cena, arguably, but he's tied up with the Fiend, so that wouldn't make any sense.
I think, for me, the fundamental point, though, is that, and I agree with you, that if you're desperate to get it recorded earlier, then you've kind of just got to get it in the can. But I would have given a phone call to my buddy Dwayne, or maybe a bald fella down in Texas, and just had a 5-minute segment.
That would be awesome, wouldn't it? I'd just take a Steve Austin 2-hour drinking session, to be honest. That'd be great.
Well, this links me on to my other thing, actually. It's sort of interconnected to the booking aspect of this. Because I said that at the start we were under the impression this was going to be a very short-term thing, and it now looks like it's going to be a more longer-term thing. I do feel like this whole thing, in a weird way, almost plays into Vince McMahon's hands in the sense that he can play out the storylines now that he wants to play out in its entirety without ever really having to worry about any negative fan backlash with, or directly this is, I mean, internet fans are going to bitch. And ultimately, if you're doing these empty arena shows, what they mean, which is almost sort of the opposite of what you think it means fundamentally that we're on a week-to-week basis, not a WrestleMania, but we're going to get less wrestling. And the guys that are at the top of the card, if you want to call it that, at these big shows, I don't even know how we're going to get them after this, but the guys at the top are going to be the draws, the charismatic guys, not wrestlers. So I know you said about Goldberg keeping the belt. I think that's the kind of way you might go about it anyway, because even if Roman Reigns was fit to take part in this, what does it matter if a part-timer has the belt when you're only filming 2 or 3 minutes a week?
Yeah, fair point. Well, on Raw this way, it summed it up, didn't it? There was more promo time than actual wrestling, which, on a good point, I think the promos of the top guys have been better in an empty arena. So there's no stupid reaction sat there going, what, every 3 seconds. I think they've been given a chance, and I said earlier, they can tell a story. And the wrestling's sort of taken a back seat. Major problem with Raw is it's 3 hours and they need to kill an hour, so they bring Royal Rumble matches in, or... As good as it is, it's not quite the show it was. It's not, there's hardly any... I say it's not quite the show it was. There's hardly any wrestling on it, but some people would argue otherwise on that.
Exactly. The other thing is as well, though, on top of that, you've got time to fill. And I don't know, you'd have to plan this well in advance, or you at least have to have some time to do it. But like I say, Vince has literally got his A to B perfect plan now, where if he wants to go, I'm going to tell the story of John Cena going over everyone. That's the story he can tell, and no one can stop him. So you can do this. You have the time to plan, literally months in advance. And so with that, have you seen the Drew McIntyre promo that's been put out in association with BT? It's definitely WWE production.
I haven't, no.
Him in Scotland training with the barrels, and it's effectively a Rocky train.
Oh, no, I've not. I love these WrestleMania vignettes. They stopped them in it for a while, didn't they? I love watching them every single year. Ambrose running through the desert and whatnot. It's great.
The thing is, it's quite short, but I think what we'll end up doing is we'll have to lean into that a bit more in the longer term.
Turn it into a 24/7 program.
Kind of, yeah. Like you look at Brock as the perfect example. When he comes out to the ring and cuts a promo, he can be very off, very, very off. But when he's sitting backstage and it's a pre-recorded segment, he sounds like an actual monster that will just rip your head off.
Oh, he doesn't give a shit, does he? Huh? and I don't believe him. That's the problem.
And so I do feel like the way that everything's gone, it's almost in a way landed in Vince's lap perfectly, because not only can he get guys that don't necessarily have to put on 40-minute 5-star matches because he doesn't need that. So he can let someone like Lesnar or Goldberg keep a hold of those belts just because that's going to get you the kind of hanging on to the mainstream buzz. There's one other thing, actually, that I forgot to mention at the start, is that we said about this idea of WrestleMania has sort of lost its edge in it. It's the only game in town at the minute. So you would imagine the ratings, whatever you want to call it, however they measure it with everything at the moment, this WrestleMania is going to have the most eyes on it for a very long time.
I'm not sure how the ratings are done, but you would imagine with people not being able to go to pubs, and the ratings are going to go massively up. So instead of, I don't know what walkabout, instead of 150 people watching an event, it's going to be 150 individual buy rates. They'll sit there and think, great, look how many people watch WrestleMania this year.
And also as well, you have to think about the idea of people that don't necessarily watch wrestling as much. What are they going to do next Saturday or next Sunday? There's nothing else on. You know, this is a big time for casuals to get back involved anyway. And this is the perfect opportunity.
Yeah, this Magician's live streaming at 12 on the Saturday. I might watch that instead.
Oh, yeah, definitely. We all need to do
that. And that Magician is Vince McMahon, because he is the magic of wrestling.
But do you know what I mean? This is why I asked you the question of whether they might take more or less risks with the booking. Because if you've got more people watching that might hang on slightly longer than usual, because I imagine, I don't know this, but the hang-on rate after every WrestleMania, it probably will be bigger this year because of the fact of there's nothing else to watch in terms of live sport.
Yeah.
And especially if you're a returning wrestling fan, I can't imagine you'll go, there's nothing on TV. I can't be asked to watch Friends for the 1,000th time. I may as well watch Raw or SmackDown. You know, I suspect that you've got that opportunity there. I just wonder whether something like that will make Vince go, I need to pull the trigger on Drew McIntyre,
Yeah.
for example, or whether he will just go, I've got to keep Lesnar in because the casual fans are returning and they want to see Brock Lesnar.
Oh, you got a point there, actually. You got a point there. There's no live audience. And I mean, I've been thinking that McIntyre was ready for the top spot for well over 18 months. But yeah, perhaps you're right to get the casual fans along. But then we're going back into the argument of let's bring Goldberg back. Let's push the Undertaker to the top of the card. You're trying to put your old stars over again. And how long can they keep going? They're 54 now, aren't they? 53, 54.
Doesn't matter.
I suppose it doesn't matter for now, but by the time it does matter, no one's going to be locked in the house anymore, are they? And everyone's going to be going back to playing skipping rope instead of watching Raw.
Yes, that is the well-renowned 2020 trend of skipping rope has ended.
All right, and yo-yo, whatever. Yeah, I'm hip and up to date, you know.
That's the other thing as well. You mentioned about the crowd not being there. If the law, as it were, of the winning the title and getting that pop, that image, that iconic memory of WrestleMania with the belt, the question I want to ask is, does it matter whether he wins it or not? Because it almost would seem to me he'd be better off holding off until we get some sort of reaction to him winning it. I don't know. I'm not sure if the rules apply.
You could, but then if you bring his wife into the ring and have a little family moment at the end, that's the feel-good moment at the end of the show, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. I think, if you get the family in there, that might be the moment you might want to end the note you want to end WrestleMania on, I suppose.
Too bad we're going to get Oldberg in the ring at the end and have some sparklers in the corner. If Gilbert comes out before... actually, he's a face, and I was going to say, Braun Strowman should send Gilbert out. He should wear him down. That'll take 20 seconds of his energy up.
Even that would be a bit long, to be honest. Yeah, not just for the fact that Gilbert is quite weak, but for the fact that Goldberg matches don't tend to go that long anyway.
Doesn't he hate Gilbert?
I think so. Yeah, I think it was he.
Right. Yeah, I'll replace the word hate with fears.
Oh, especially, yeah. I tell you, the one person I do feel sorry for in all of this, and I do wonder whether, if you asked him whether he'd say I probably should have held off for a couple of months, is Edge. He's not going to get that perfect return moment that he would have wanted. I mean, he got that pop at the Rumble, but this is not the way he envisaged his comeback.
No, I know, but how many pops you need? It's his job, really, isn't it? I know he's doing it for the love of the business. I suppose it is going to take I suppose it's an emotional feud, isn't it? So not having the crowd there is going to play its part, but I know you don't like him, and I know you think he's boring, but Randy Orton can tell a story in the ring. I think that's going to be enough for the people watching at home, which are the only people watching. I think that match is going to be okay. I do feel sorry for Edge, yes. Does he deserve it? Yes and no. He's had his time, hasn't he? He's had 10 years of pops. Does he need one more? He got it at the Rumble.
This is the other question, though. The reason why you feel sorry for him is because, yes, he had 10 years of pops, but his career was cut so short that you could probably have envisaged another 5, maybe 10 years of pops when he retired. I don't know how long he was going to come back for. If it's going to be less wrestling going forward, if it's going to be more promo-based, scripted-based, vignette-based, this might actually prolong his return/comeback.
Yeah, it's going to. I mean, he's not one of them wrestlers that does 54 flips off the top rope to get a pop. There's no house shows. If he wrestles once a month on pay-per-view, you're right, yeah. It will extend his career. Edge is 46 years old now. How long can he stick at the top of the game for?
Look who AJ Styles is facing, and look at what Vince McMahon is doing.
Good point, actually. Fair point. Fair point. I can't really argue with that. I'm pinned for 3 on that one.
The last question I wanted to ask before we wrap this up. Given everything that I said we know at the start, we know the way the event's going to go over 2 days. We know it's going to be in front of no crowd. I have heard that certain matches are being filmed in isolation away from this, and they may take on their own life, as it were, like you said about the Hollywood film. The point about that is that Bruce Willis is scripted to fight in a very specific way, and it might be that scripted. This could be good.
I'm looking forward to the John Cena one in particular.
Yes.
I think that John Cena is a Hollywood actor now, isn't he? A fringe Hollywood actor.
Mm-hmm.
And Bray Wyatt cuts the best promo in the company. If those two are allowed to do what they want to do, and I've read that John Cena's directing the thing, so hopefully they will be allowed.
Go for it.
Yeah, exactly. Just leave them to it. They can do the job, clearly. It depends whether Vince trusts them, doesn't it? Did you hear the Matt Hardy interview with Chris Jericho? When the final deletion was being recorded and shown to Vince McMahon? Everybody stood up and clapped in the room and said, great job, blah, 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 blah. Vince McMahon sat there and went, I don't get it. He said, if it makes ratings, I don't care, but I don't get it. That's what you're dealing with here, isn't it?
I've got to be honest with you, right? And far be it from me to come to the defence of Vincent Kennedy McMahon, but there are a lot more people when that first happened that said that after it became a success, shut the fuck up.
Oh, yeah. I mean, to be fair, do you remember when they did the first ever one? The first time I saw it, it was the What Culture reaction. And then I watched the show, and I sat there, what the fuck is this? And the more I watched it, the more they did, I thought it was amazing. I thought it was genius looking back.
At the time, it was a case of, I'm not sure what the fuck this is. It's because it became successful and because it got over that everyone that had doubts about it just either said they never had any doubts, which is a basic lie, or just shut the fuck up. So I will say that much for Vince.
Wrestling fans are hypocrites.
Who knew?
I ain't having that.
Yeah. Brings me to the last question that I wanted to ask, which is, what would you actually like to see full stop from this event? Is there something that you just go, they've got an opportunity here to do something different, I want to see this?
I'm looking forward to the Undertaker AJ Styles graveyard match. I've just done a quick Google of this, and I would like to see a repeat of Vampiro versus the Demon, Bash at the Beach 2000.
That match is as unique to wrestling culture as WrestleMania will be to just general culture, because the idea that anything could reach those heights, I'm not sure it could.
Oh, never again, man. Bash at the Beach 2000 was what elevated WCW.
Yes, that's why we saw Bash at the Beach 2001, 2, 3, 4. Oh no, wait, the company was gone by then.
Correct.
Can I just say, in addition to this, I'm very interested to see, because there are 14 matches currently on, taking this off Wikipedia, as of today, recording this Sunday night. That means splitting it evenly. I don't know how they're going to split it, and I don't want to go too far into looking into it without reading full-on match spoilers for it, which I'm trying desperately to stay away from. That is going to be a battle in itself. But let's say it's an even 7-7 split. I'm very interested to see it, and I would like to see what they do with the backstage segments to sort of cut up the cards individually. Like, are we going to get any random bullshit music performances in front of no crowd?
Well, Kid Rock's used to performing in front of no crowd anyway, so I might as well bring him back in.
That was unnecessarily harsh.
Sorry, I made myself laugh then. That's terrible, isn't it?
I'll take it. And can I be snide to the point of being not very snide at all? The one thing I would like to see in this pay-per-view, I want to give this a break, because we know what we're going to get. We know it's not going to be this. If you want to say that, it's not quite as good as it should have been, we kind of knew this going in, what it's going to be. So while your expectations are at a level that it can't possibly meet anyway, I would just like, in the wake of everything that's going on in the world right now, just watch wrestling 2 nights in a row, have a bit of a laugh, and then, that's the end of it. I don't need to see any mass meltdowns over booking or over the match or anything. It's just entertainment at the end of the day.
Yeah, exactly, man. Exactly what you just said. There's enough crap going on at the minute. Everybody's effectively locked in their house. We should just have a bit of fun at the weekend. Just see a fun show, really. I don't particularly care about the results. As long as the matches are good, as long as the stories are good, that's all I want to see. Bit of entertainment, cheer everyone up for a couple of days, and when we're all free in September 2023, we'll be okay. We'll look back on this and laugh.
The first WrestleMania of many behind the closed doors.
What you're saying is Vince had to work with Donald Trump, locked down several states and no one could move, just so he could get his closed doors pay-per-view.
And basically, WrestleMania 2023 is the purge.
Oh, man. I'm hoping to get to LA next year. Don't say that.
You won't be going to LA. You won't get as far as Worcester at this point. You're talking about entertaining the people and bringing some joy to the masses. We bring joy to the masses every time we do this podcast.
True that.
We are going to be back with you in what is going to be a truly historic week for the wrestling industry. We're going to try and get some absolutely amazing podcast content for you within that time. And what you can do is go and follow us on Facebook.com/The Beermat, Twitter.com/The Beermat, Instagram.com/The Beermat. And also as well, all the old Beyond the Beermats are being uploaded to YouTube and on Spotify as well. So you have no excuse to go back through the catalogue and the glorious, glorious days when we can record in the pub.
One day we'll be free again.
Thank you for listening. We'll catch you again very, very soon.